Hi, I'm Christa Jacobson, headmistress of the Budo, where we teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai Bujutsu. And for those of you who don't know what that is, those are the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. Tonight I'm going on one of my night walks again and going to share with you some of my thoughts of the martial arts. We're going to talk about three specific types of mentalities. The weak, the coward, and the warrior. And I saw a meme on the internet, and this is what spurred this thought, and I thought I would share some of my thoughts with you guys on this particular subject. Now, before we begin, in case this is the first video that you guys have seen of me, real quick, like I said, my name is Christa Jacobson. I'm the head of the Budo, which means School of the Warrior Way. I'm a Koryu instructor, meaning I teach the ancient martial arts of Japan. So in Japan, like 1868 is the break, right? So if you teach martial arts previous to 1868, it's called Koryu Bujutsu, or the ancient martial arts. And if you study martial arts after 1868, then it's considered Gendai Budo, or modern martial arts. And typically the Gendai arts focus on the principle of do, meaning the way. So like karate do, aikido, kendo, judo, iaido, do. Where the Koryu schools, like Ninjutsu and Bujutsu, they tend to focus on war and things of that nature. So I am a Koryu instructor. A lot of times people think, you know, if you teach the ancient arts of the traditional classical arts of the ninja and samurai or whatever, or ancient arts period, that it's not as applicable in the modern day. Well, I highly disagree with that, but you know, teach their own. So anyway, before we begin, if you guys are interested in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, please check out our website at www.budoninjutsu.com. There you guys can see everything that I do, the arts that I teach, my philosophy of training, books, DVDs, online training, etc., etc. So here we go. The weak, the coward, and the warrior. So the other day I was browsing through, I really honestly don't know what form of social media I was on. I don't know if it was Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Instagram. I really don't know which one, but I saw this meme and it was a picture of a warrior, you know, like a medieval type warrior, and you just see his back and he's kind of facing kind of this dark pathway, right? And then in like bold letters it says, the weak never start, cowards quit, and warriors always win, or something along those lines. I'm not exactly for sure how the meme went, to be quite honest with you, but it was something along those lines. And that really is what spurred my thought. I was thinking about that, and then when my particular deep thought about that particular meme, or thought, I guess, is how true it really kind of is. I mean, even though it was a meme, it had a little bit of truth to it. And I know a lot of times you see these memes and they're kind of cool one-liners, but they really don't have a lot of applicable place inside someone's true training or true life. It's like it's a good zinger, it's a good one-liner, but it doesn't really hold a lot of water. I think this one kind of does. And in many ways, I think that each one of those different mindsets, being the weak, the coward, or the warrior, is in all of us at some time in our life or another. Now I think anyone who's watching, if you're on my channel, then you guys obviously are interested in martial arts, because that's what my channel is about. But I do think that when you look at this, I think that these three mindsets, before I start giving you my thoughts on them, and how as a martial artist we should learn to understand different types of mentalities and perception of people and how they hold themselves and how they carry themselves, which is something that's, you know, anyone who's watched any of my situational awareness videos, that's definitely a skill that you need to have. I think that these kind of skills are something that is applicable within the realm of self-defense. However, I want to say that I don't think that any one of these mindsets have anything to do with whether someone's a good person or a bad person. I think that there are lots of people who are weak, but they can also be have a good heart and a good person, but they could also be weak and be a complete asshole. So just because we're using these three mentalities, the weak, the coward, and the warrior, that doesn't necessarily denote whether they're a good person or a bad person. Same thing with a coward. There are a lot of people who are very timid. They shy away from things. They're scared to do certain things with their life, or they're scared to take a step But that doesn't necessarily mean just because they're cowardly in certain aspects of their life, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person, right? Same thing with the warrior. You got people who they go out and they fight for a certain cause that they believe in, like I believe in this, or I believe in that, or I'm going to stand for this, or I'm going to stand for that, and they approach things in that manner like a warrior would, but that still doesn't denote whether they're an asshole or a good person, because you could be a good person and be a warrior, just the same you could be a complete asshole and be a warrior, right? So before we begin, I want my viewers to understand where I'm coming from when I start talking about these different philosophical mentalities and how you can use this approach towards start using like psychological evaluation when you're talking to other people and you're trying to gather information from them. When we talk about the weak, we're talking about people that are easily defeated. They do not have the skills necessary to overcome the objective. That is the weak. Now that can be physically, that can be mentally, that could be emotionally, that could be spiritually. You know, who knows, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be just in the realm of the physical realm. It could be in any realm, right? Mentally, emotionally, and so forth. Some people are so emotionally scarred that they're weak towards other things, and they are easily taken advantage of. So when we say weak, that means they don't have the skills, or they don't have what is needed to overcome or to compete in a field. I'm going to use, I'm a mom, right? I have two daughters, and as a mom, I can tell you that if I was to play, let's say I'm going to play basketball with my 13-year-old, one-on-one basketball, right? There is nothing she's going to do physically to stop me from beating her in a game of basketball. There's nothing she's going to be able to do. It doesn't matter how many books she reads. It doesn't matter how many. In this situation, she would be the weak in that situation, right? But that's what I mean by when people say so-and-so is weak. Well, it has to be in a specific situation and a specific set of skills or a specific area of life. It can't be all, you know what I mean? There are some people who are very cowardly or scared or timid in certain areas of their life, right? But in other areas of life, they're very strong and passionate and very aggressive. So again, when we're talking about mentality and we're talking about psychological evaluation, when you're trying to gather information, for those of you guys who do follow my channel, you know I teach Ninjutsu, which Ninjutsu is espionage, intelligence, psychological warfare. So these kind of topics I think are good things, especially for people who are interested in Ninjutsu, because gathering information and being able to have you know, psychological evaluation and being able to understand the person that you're with, gathering information, so on and so forth is a good thing. So when we're talking about weak, let's get back on topic here. We're talking about weak. I think that it's important to understand that they would only be weak in that physical activity or in a specific situation. That doesn't mean that they would be weak as a complete person. But if you can understand that, you would be able to take advantage of it. So as if you were gathering information, that would be something to look for. I can use more examples, like if I was to arm wrestle my 13-year-old daughter, or I have a 3-year-old daughter too. You know, there's nothing physically they do. They would be weak in that situation. But that doesn't, I don't think that either one of I think I have very strong young girls, and very happy, very strong, very self-confident, self-assured. They're just not going to be able to do those things. Not now. I mean, who knows? Shit, 40 years from now, they're going to be whooping my ass in a game of basketball, I'm sure, right? I might be in a damn... I might not be able to walk in 40 years with the way it's going. But yeah, so the tables would switch, yeah? But, so I think that's important to understand that. So when you're trying to gather information, how do people back down? Do they back down? Do they cower down to physicality? If they do, you know you have the advantage. Miyamoto Musashi writes in the Book of Five Rings, he was facing one of his most fiercest competitors, one of the most strongest battles he had. And the guy says, you know, he's waiting for him on the beach. It was a Kojiro, I think it was the match against Kojiro. And he takes his sword and he pulls it out of the scabbard. Miyamoto Musashi's like, you already lost. A man that throws away his scabbard, he's not worried about winning. You know what I mean? And I don't know exactly the exact quote, but that's how he basically said it. He's like, you just threw your scabbard on the ground. You know you came to die. Because if you know you came to win, you wouldn't have done that. And that's what I mean by psychological evaluation, like just the little things. People say certain things, they do certain things, they send certain emails, and those things are all relaying a message of how they think psychologically. So you should always pick up on those cues, because then you can see exactly how they're thinking and what they're thinking, and you know, take that information and process it and utilize it to your advantage. Now, when we talk about cowards, this one's a little bit more complex, because it is more complex. Weak is just simply there's nothing they can do, like an arm wrestling match, like I mentioned. But cowards can, they just choose not to. That's why it becomes a little bit more harder to explain this situation. So I think the meme, again, I think the meme something like the weak never start, cowards always quit, and warriors never give up, or there's something like that, right? I'm gonna find that damn meme. But anyway, with the coward, they're the ones that always quit. They're the ones that always make excuses. They're the ones that they talk a big game, but they don't ever do anything to back it up, right? So it's like they want to be successful, but they don't do what it takes to be successful. And that's what I mean by that coward. And it's not like they're being a coward like they're scared of something. They're scared of themselves, right? And I think that's what's really the truest statement of this particular mentality. They're scared of that. You would be shocked at how many people are actually scared of success. People hate change. I've said this a million times in the dojo. People hate change. And when you do something that forces them to change, they don't like it. That's why so many people don't succeed. Because to succeed, you have to change. Because if you stay where you're at, you're not successful. If you want to go forward in life, if you want to succeed, whether it's business, whether it's martial arts, whether it's in a relationship, no matter what you want to do in life, if you want to succeed and you want to better yourself, then there has to be change. You cannot succeed or be more successful without change, right? You can't. But so many people are scared of change that they don't succeed. And that in itself is that mentality of being a coward. A lot of times you'll have people, and I'm not going to get into it, but I made a video about the first degree masters, right? If you guys have not watched my video on Don't Be a Martial Art Joke, Google that one. There's what's called the first degree master, right? You got the martial art jester and the martial art joker. The joker kind of falls into this section, right? This first degree masters. They're always jumping from dojo to dojo. And it's like, oh, I'm a first degree in this, a first degree in this, and a first degree in this. And I'm just gonna let my viewers know it's fucking cold out here tonight. I should have grabbed a bigger coat. Woo, fucking cold. Anyway, they're always jumping around, getting all these different first degrees, because in their head, the average person who's not in martial arts, they think that a first degree black belt's a big thing. Anyone who's in martial arts knows that it's not a big thing. I mean, a Shodan literally means an initial level student. 5th Dan is a master. But the media and the movies portray a black belt as a master. So therefore, they get to get all the clout without actually getting to be a master. So like, well, I'm a first degree in this, I'm a first degree in this, a first degree in this. Because once you start getting into the 2nd degree, the 3rd degree, the 4th degree, it gets harder and harder and harder and becomes more difficult. So what they do, because they don't want to do the work, because they're a coward, they're scared to face the amount of work, and they're scared to face dedication, and they're scared to face discipline and loyalty. A lot of people are very scared of loyalty. There are many people who are scared of commitment, so they cheat on people all the time. So they have these fears, and they're scared of that, and in that sense they become a coward. So they jump around from dojo to dojo, and by doing that, they think they're succeeding because they say, oh my God, I now have a first degree black belt in this. But at the end of the day, a first degree black belt means you're an initial level student. You're still just an initial level student. It doesn't matter. I mean, a lead jab is a lead jab. Yes, different martial arts teach it different ways, but at the end of the day, a lead jab is a lead jab. This is why I'm so against this whole people doing, oh, I do 10 different martial arts. I think it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I've talked about that multiple times in my videos. I think through experience, I can tell you, you do not need to train in multiple martial arts. It actually hinders you in a self-defense situation, constantly reprogramming that neurological response to a pragmatic attack. It's like Bruce Lee said, I would hate to face someone. I think Bruce Lee said it. I'm not a big Bruce Lee fan, but I think Bruce Lee said it one time. He said, I would rather face a man that's done 10,000 kicks than to face one man that's done one kick 10,000 times, or something like that. Basically, he would rather face someone who's dabbled in many different things than to face that one guy that's mastered something. And it's so true. So I'm a big advocate where I don't think there's one martial art better than another. I think they're all different and beautiful and have their own positives and negatives. I think everyone needs to choose the martial art that best fits them and their lifestyle and what they're looking for in martial arts. But whatever it is that you choose to do, when you find your master, stick with them. Dedicate yourself to those teachings. Some people only teach one art. Some people teach, in the Budo case, we have 7. Stick with it. Do it. Dedicate yourself to something, because then you're going to start building those pragmatic and neurological responses to where you can utilize that. But this is where we get into the mentality of the coward. The coward don't want to do that, because then when you start doing something like that and those neurological responses, you have to change. And with change, a lot of people fear that. So when we talk about cowards, we talk about the people who they have a big mouth, but they can't back it up. They talk a lot of shit, they can't back it up. Things get hard, they're always leaving. They jump from one dojo to another. And you guys know what I mean. They look all tough and badass, and they dress the part, but at the end of the day, they're weak as shit. And they know it deep down. They know they're a coward. They know they're lying and they're a coward. And at the end of the day, that's what that section is. And it is a very complex section, because I think, like I said, from a mental perspective, I think every person has been in every category in some fashion or another in their life. Especially when you're a teenager. Lots of teenagers go through the growth and the change and trying to find out who they are. And so we've all been there. And I can say that now as a middle-aged woman walking around Kansas City talking about martial arts. I can say that we've all done it, right? And I believe that. But there's a point where you're just going to have to step up to that third step, which is the warrior. One of the Kuden lessons in my dojo is I want my students to understand a couple different things. And I should make some videos on that. But 2 things that everyone has to know, and they have to know the difference. And I'm not going to get deep into this philosophical lesson, but they need to know the difference between truth and fact. And they have to know the difference between a fighter and a warrior. And I'm not going to get too deep into it with you guys right now, but we can make a video on that later. But truth is what you believe, fact is what you can prove. That's why I always thought it was stupid when people say, when you go to court and they say, tell me the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Well, I think it's ridiculous. You know, it's a truth that they saw Bigfoot, and in a fact they can prove it. A fact is what you can prove. Truth is what you believe. It's the truth that you can, it's a truth that someone believes in God. It's a fact that no one's ever seen God, right? It's the truth that I enjoy wearing this white jacket, but it's a fact that I'm wearing a white jacket. So there's a difference between truth and fact. And when you're studying Kyojutsu, or the art of bending the truth, or truth and falsehood, or manipulation, which is the major part of psychological evaluation when you're studying classical ninjutsu and understanding the mentality of people and trying to gather information from people, you have to understand and differentiate between truth and fact. Because if you can do that, then you can understand where people are coming from when they're trying to get something from you. They send you little quirky emails and this, that, and the other and shit like that. It's very easy when you could tell when someone's trying to get something from you. The other one is fighter and a warrior. A fighter fights. A fighter lives to fight another day. A warrior, death is present. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, this isn't me taking a shot at MMA. I think those MMA athletes are some of the best athletes in the world. They get in the octagon and they're highly skilled, and they do the UFC thing and the Pride and the King of the Cage and all these different MMA events. I'm not taking anything from them. I don't do MMA. It ain't my thing. It's not. But I'll give credit where credit's due. I mean, I think they're some of the best athletes in the world at what they do. But a fighter fights. I mean, no one goes into UFC knowing they're going to lose their life, right? Where people who are in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, they're going over to war and they know they have a chance of dying. There's a
fucking difference between the two. When you're studying, like I teach Koryu, right? So in Koryu, we're doing the techniques that was meant for the time of war, with the sword and the spear and the bow and arrow and the survival skills and so forth. Where the Gendai Budo tend to do things that are more based like in the sport aspect, like karate do, you know, judo, kendo, iaido, things like that. They tend to do something that has more of a competition to it and not really training you as though you were going to be going to war. So that's why, because I'm a Koryu teacher, that's why I think it's important, hair's going everywhere, that's why I think it's important that the students understand the difference. Knowing that now, we're going to get into the warrior mentality. A warrior is someone who's going to fight for a cause, right? They're not fighting for themselves. A warrior, I mean, a fighter tends to fight for themselves, like they're a prize fighter. You know, like Conor McGregor, he's going to fight to be the UFC champion. He is fighting so he can be paid, so he can make money, and he can be the champion, right? He's not fighting for the country of whatever, we're Ireland or something, right? That's not what he's doing. He is fighting for himself to make money and to be the champion. Now, right? That's the purpose, to better himself that way. You're not fighting for the cause, for a cause, right? The warrior arts tend to think of it differently in that sense. They tend to fight for a cause, like they're doing it to protect the family, protect the Lord, protect the country. They put others before themselves. And to do that, you can't stop. Oh, so when we talk about warriors, they're a general martial artist. Well, you know, like they tend to, that war, right, isn't like the Army or Navy. I'm not trying to say like it's in that sense. But if I have to do what I have to do to protect my family and my kids, I know that it isn't going to be, you know, 3 points and the match is over. It isn't like I'm going to tap out and the thug on the street's going to stop. If I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I know there's a high probability that my ass is going to go to the ER. There isn't no way around that. So there's a big difference, right? So when we talk about how a warrior, you know, a warrior, we have to succeed if you're going to train in the warrior arts, because failure is not an option. If someone breaks into my house and they try to do something to me and my family, if they go through me, my kids don't have a chance. So I can't fail, because I have to not only protect me, but I have to protect everyone around me. And that's why the constant training and the making sure that you get that neurological response is so important. I take martial arts so fucking serious. It's what I do every day. It's what I've dedicated my life to. And that's why I'm telling you guys, I don't really care what martial art. You guys are all, you know, you're subscribing to my channel, you like the martial arts stuff and all that, it's all great. It doesn't matter what martial arts you do, whatever you're doing, do it. But when you're jumping around from this art to that art and this art to that art and do this, this, to this, you may learn a lot of cool tricks. You may learn a lot of cool techniques, but it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to do that in a pragmatic, intense situation. Simply because you're going to have to use muscle memory. And when you're trying to do a lead jab 3 different ways, you haven't developed that muscle memory yet. So a warrior is someone who, like we talk about the code of Bushido, and I've talked about that before, how I understand how Bushido is more of a, I want to say it's a modern word, but it kind of is, from the 1900s. But the code of the samurai, the way of the samurai, was 100% prevalent in the age of the samurai. Miyamoto Musashi in the Book of the 5 Rings writes about the way of the samurai is this, and the Hagakure, the way of the samurai is found in death, and the way of the samurai is this, the way is this, the way is that. There was definitely 100% a method of the way of the samurai during the age of the samurai. They may not have given it the name Bushido. The term Bushido may be new, but the way of the warrior, the way of the samurai, is not new. That is definitely Koryu. Was definitely prevalent in that time period. And if you're going to study the way, you have to have those precepts. You're going to have to understand honor, respect, loyalty, discipline, integrity. These are the things that you have to be good at the martial arts. You have to hold yourself, to that standard of the martial art. Not everyone can do what the hell they want to do with their life. That is what it is. You guys can choose whatever religion you want. I don't really care. Religion, race, religion, sex, gender, You know, all that, whatever profession you choose, it doesn't really matter. What you do to make money is what you do to make money. As long as you're not hurting anybody, it doesn't matter to me. But when you study the martial arts, you have to submit and give yourself to that art. You have to learn how to do that and show that honor to the master, show the honor to the tradition of the Ryuha, and be 100% loyal. And when you do that, you see something so beautiful in your martial arts training, because you've given something and then you start to get something back that you totally wouldn't have seen unless you have done that. And that's one of the most beautiful moments in training, when someone truly gives themselves to the what it is that they're studying, and they get back exactly what they're looking for. And that's something that I wish more people in the martial arts would do. So these are my thoughts. You know, I don't know how much of this you guys got out of the lesson tonight, but those are my thoughts on the week. The coward and the warrior. Use this information to help, you know, psychological evaluation. We've all been all three. We're all probably going to be all three again in certain regards, in certain realms of our life. But understand it, being able to utilize it, and being able to help those. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, if you guys are studying the warrior arts, I think we're studying to be able to help the weak. We're studying to be able to help give confidence to the people who are cowardly or scared. And we're studying the martial arts to be able to protect the ones that we love. And I think that's important. So, like I said, I'll let you guys go. If you guys are interested in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, please click the link in the description. You guys go to my website at budo-ninjutsu.com. There you can get a list of our schools. Also click the store. We've got DVDs, books, online ninjutsu dojo if you guys are interested in studying classical ninjutsu, classical samurai bujutsu. So thank you guys very much for all of your love and support, and I will get back with you in a couple days with another video, okay? Talk to you later.